Other sides are there. There's others of both sides. So two rights. Barbara sister. It looks like they're sitting over here. Figure out this one. I don't know what this will be.
Hello. Thank you to everyone on behalf of the family for being here this morning and showing your support. If I can have you all begin to take your seat, we will begin the service shortly. Also, there are several register books in the lobby. If you haven't had a chance to sign it, please do so because it will be packed away during the service, as well as take one of the ducks in his memory. Thank you. At this time, everybody, please rise. You may be seated.
Sha'aray El Heharim Mayin Yahavo Ezri Sha'aray El Heharim Mayin Yahavo Ezri. I lift up my eyes to the mountains, says the psalmist. From where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth. Our guardian will not slumber, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord will guard us from all harm. He will guard our lives. The Lord guards our going and our coming, now and forevermore. So what does the psalmist mean that God guards our going and our coming? What's the going and coming? Well, he imagines every soul begins with the Creator. In fact, the rabbis tell us that every soul was present in Mount Sinai when the Torah was given. So the soul begins with the Creator, and then it goes into this world, physical form, and we come here with a mission. We don't know what our mission is. That's life. Life is, what am I doing here? What's my mission? What's my purpose? But we have a hint. We have a hint because in the story of the creation of Adam and Eve, and it's a metaphor, we're Adam and Eve. That's us. We're all Adam and Eve. It's humanity. And God turns to Adam and Eve and he says, will you be my partners? Will you bring forth the next generation? And will you till my garden? In other words, make your part of the world nicer, kinder, better. And Adam and Eve say, yes, we'll be your partners. And God says, Tov Ma'od. This is very good. And then Shabbat V'Nafash, he's done. He's done because he has his partners. He rests on the Sabbath. And then we take over. That's why the bris is on the 8th day. 7 days, God creates. 8th day, we're in charge. So the mission is to be partners with God to bring forth the next generation and to make the world a kinder, more beautiful place, a garden. Well, he was a heck of a partner. The two of you brought forth the next generation, and it will continue to grow. And wherever he went, it was a kinder world, a gentler world, a funnier world. It was a happy place. And so God guarded his going. He became a wonderful partner with God through his partnership with you, with Barbara. What's the coming? The coming is the return of the soul to the Creator. How does God guard it? Well, we're partners. That's our job. How do we guard the return? The way we've gathered here today. To make sure that his impact upon us continues. His lessons, his presence, all of that can remain very strong in our lives, in your lives. That's how his memory becomes a blessing. You know, nobody wants to be remembered with sadness. There's obviously enormous sadness, but nobody wants to be remembered in such a way that people sour on life, retreat from life, get suspicious of life. We want people to remember us and laugh and smile. Yeah, a tear in our eye, but a smile on our face. And we want people to even strive for more because of us. That's how we want to be remembered. That's how he certainly wants and deserves to be remembered. And so we will guard the return of his soul to his Creator by keeping his memory strong and alive in our lives and the lives of our loved ones. In the book of Job, they ask this question: when a wise, kind, and good man dies, how can he be replaced? There's a source for silver. There's a place where gold can be refined. We can reach into the earth, take out all of its riches. We can go into the sea, take out all of its wealth. But where do we find kindness and wisdom and goodness and love and compassion and passion and understanding? Where do we find that? In the hearts of our loved ones. When a wise, kind, good-hearted man dies, how can he be replaced? There was a teacher, a wisdom teacher. He lived 2,000 years ago. His name is Ben Sira. What do we mean by wisdom? Wisdom is seichel, common sense. He lived in a time of Greek philosophy, which is very interesting, highfalutin stuff. And he said, interesting, but this is the real world. This is how the real world works. And that's why his words were so popular and they stay with us today. So Ben Sira wrote the following 2,000 years ago. We are all destined to die. We share with all who ever lived and with all who ever it will be. Cry for the dead. Hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning, but But remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace, and be consoled when the soul departs. For death is better than a life of pain. Eternal rest is better than constant suffering. 2,000 years ago, he could have written that last night, and it would be as true and as poignant as when it was first authored. When the dead are at rest, let their memory be a source of peace. Be consoled when the soul departs, for death is better than life of pain. Eternal rest better than constant sickness. So, you might wonder where this is. It's a rabbi's manual. In case I'm old, it's old, so you can't see that, right? Got a lot of wisdom in it. But I looked at, there's nothing in here that explains this. Nothing. Nothing explains this. Nothing helps us really understand this. I have the book, I have 45 years experience, and I have no answers. No answers. I simply have a profound sadness that overwhelms me. Sadness for Barbara, sadness for the kids, the siblings, nieces, nephews, a community. Look at this community. You know, if we said nothing today, you just turn around and you look and you know, wow, this man made an impact. Just looking at this group. And then there's so many who aren't even here who would love to be here, but can't. We walk around saying to ourselves, what the hell just happened? And we don't get it. Intellectually, of course we get it. We're intelligent people, we're educated, we can give a clear medical explanation, all sorts of big words. But emotionally, what just happened? How is it that we are here? How is it we're at this funeral? We don't understand. And most of all, I'm sad for Michael. He had so much more to experience, so much more to do in life. And you know what? He really liked it. He really liked it. You know, there's pretty much 3 things you do in this world. You work, and that's most of it. You have family, and you have friends. If you get 1 or 2 out of 3 good, you're pretty happy. Well, he got them all good. He was happy in all of them. Wherever he was excited and happy. What an incredible blessing. He loved it. And now he's lost out on so much. You've all heard, either at a funeral or in movies, silly explanations. Oh, he was too good for this world. That's idiocy. That's idiocy. What this world needs is more Michaels, not he was too good. We need more of him to set an example. Or this one, right? God only takes the good ones early because he needs them. No, I'm sorry, God doesn't need him. You need him. Barbara needs him. The kids need him. The family needs him. I don't worship a God like that. He doesn't take good ones early. It's nonsense. It insults God. So I look for a philosophy I can latch on to help get through this. And the truth be told, the only philosophy I've ever heard that is an appropriate response to this kind of unfathomable sadness and tragedy is this: shit happens. Right? Forrest Gump was right. That's it. I have no other explanation. I'm not going to say that Michael's untimely passing serves some kind of hidden purpose. His death is a terrible waste. That's it. It's a terrible waste. But what I can say, and what we will all say today, with total, complete honesty and sincerity, is this: while his death serves no purpose, his life was filled with purpose. It was filled with meaning, and it was filled with goodness, and was filled with people. So let me do, before we introduce the speakers, the only thing that as a rabbi that makes any sense to me at this time. Let me teach a piece of Torah. Because Torah can't explain it, but it can guide us. It can give us perspective. So here's the Torah lesson. You all know that every Shabbat, every Sabbath, the custom is to read a portion of the Torah. And you begin at simplest Torah with Genesis, and you work your way through to Deuteronomy, and we did it. We read the whole Torah. Each one has a parsha. Each name, each Torah portion has a name. If you had a bar bat mitzvah, you may remember, oh, my parsha, I remember that. I don't remember anything in it, but I remember what it was called, all right? I was Parshat Lecha, okay? Now, understand that the names of these Torah portions were chosen by the rabbis. They weren't built into the Torah. The Torah has no divisions whatsoever. The rabbis said, this is where we're going to start, this is where we're going to end. So if they did that, I have to assume they did it with purpose, because they did everything with purpose and a meaning. So you also know the other thing, the Torah does not shy away from talking about death and mourning. It's very direct, it's very honest. It doesn't try and hide it. It doesn't try and clean up its messiness. It goes directly. So there's the story of the death of our matriarch, Sarah, right? Sarah dies. We're told how Abraham went and bought a burial plot. We even told about the negotiations. We even know the price. How he buried her, how he mourned for her. All that in the very beginning of this parsha. You know what the name of the parsha is? Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. Wait a second, I read a whole bunch of chapters about the life of Sarah. Now she dies and we get the parsha, the life of Sarah. Then, go a few weeks later. We have the last portion of Genesis. Jacob dies. He's brought back to Israel to be buried. Joseph, his favorite, dies. He's buried in Egypt because we can't leave Egypt. We're already enslaved. What's the name of the parsha? Vayechi. And they lived. Then we go to the last parsha of the entire Torah. And of course, what do we read about? The death of Moses. God buries him. We don't know where he's buried. And the people mourn him. And what's the name of the parsha? V'zot habracha. And this is the blessing. I think they got a message across. Sarah dies. Jacob dies. Joseph dies. Moses dies. And what do we talk about? The life of Sarah, the life of Jacob, the life of Joseph, and the blessing that Moses brought to us into this world. That's the message. We talk about his life because we don't understand his death. And it was too early. But we at least have instruction. We focus on his life because his life is what instructs us. His death is just warns us. We just don't know. And back of our mind, we just don't know. It's unpredictable. That's the only lesson that we learn. And so we're going to focus on his life. Now, the rabbis tell us there are different ways to mourn. Sometimes mourning is for someone who's lived a long life. It's one type of mourning. This is a very deep mourning. This is a mourning with crying. This is a mourning with deep sadness. So the rabbis say there's three ways to mourn. The first way is dma'ot, bechi, to cry. Why? Because some cultures said, don't cry, be strong. The rabbi said, no. Tears are not a sign of anger. You're hurt. You miss somebody. It's okay. Shed tears. Many tears have been shed. Many tears will be shed in the months, the years to come as we reflect on his passing. The second way to mourn, the rabbis say, shtika odumia. It means silence. Well, wait a second, you just told me to cry. Now you say, shh. Which is it? What do you want? What should I do? It's a different type of silence. It's a silence of acceptance. What are we being asked to accept? The basic paradox of all life. The more you love someone, the more you care about them, the more your souls are intertwined, the longer they're part of your life, the more intimate and close the relationship is, then the greater the hurt, the greater the pain when you lose the object of your love. So how do you avoid pain and sadness? Well, don't hook up with family. Don't get close friends. Keep people distant. Then it won't hurt. That's the paradox. Well, we know how Michael lived his life. He lived it with people, amongst people, and for people, and the price we pay is it hurts. So the rabbis say, it hurts, but you got to be silent this moment. You have to reflect on his life and not on the pain. So when it comes to the sadness, because it cannot wipe out the decades of love and sharing and all those happy memories. And so the rabbis say, quiet about the sadness, focus on what you had and what memory will give you in the years ahead. And the third way to mourn, this is the strangest, to sing. You call it shirah, they say, sing. Well, in Hebrew, songs are shirot. And very often in Hebrew, it's shirot v'tishbachot, songs, praises. Why? Because the Jew can't sing without singing praises. Praises who? Praises to God, to thank God for the gift of his life. His life was filled with what he wanted in life. He got the blessings. The only thing he didn't get was the length of years, but he got the blessings. So we sing praises to God and thank him for bringing him into this world and sharing him with not enough time, and we can register some complaints about that privately in our prayers. And we come to sing praises to the one we've come to say, Shalom L'Hitraot, goodbye until we meet again. We sing his praises. You know what that's called? A eulogy. Now, eulogies are interesting things. They're doomed to failure. What do I mean? We can spend a half hour, 2 hours, 3 hours reflecting, eulogizing, and we won't cover most of it. All right? To cover most of it, we need a book. We need different chapters in his life. All right? Chapters that can be written by his siblings who knew him longer than anybody else here. All right? By his partner in life, Barbara, who can talk about the early years and all the dreams and the hopes that you had as a young couple. And then as it started to really happen professionally, and then the friends, and then the family, more and more chapters. And the kids can write chapters. Oh, what this man taught me. What my father taught me. What I learned from him. How it's going to guide me. We need a book. But we don't have time for a book. But the book will write itself out as the years pass. So the rabbis understood that eulogy is like looking through the cleft of a rock and seeing a little piece of the world, a little piece of his life. Yet they commanded us. You know, it's actually a command. It's a mitzvah to eulogize. Why? Because it's hard to do. So the rabbis say it doesn't matter if it's hard to do it. All right? But mainly because they understood that the emptiest feeling you ever have in life is when you walk away from a funeral, from a cemetery. You feel as if you've been completely emptied, and you have no idea how that void will be filled. So the rabbis say, sing praises, tell the story, and you will start to understand that none of that can be taken from you. None of the wisdom, none of the love, none of the sharing, none of the memories can ever be taken from you. And that would slowly but surely fills most of the void. So we're going to sing his praises today and celebrate his life and mourn his death. So the speaker is going to be from family, from friends, colleagues. Colleagues and friends kind of go together. That was a unique thing about him. Colleague, friend, same thing. So we have Eric and Fern, siblings. We got Scott Thaler, who's a longtime friend and colleague. Jeffrey Hockman with Peter. And then we have Hannah. Then we have Emily and Jonah, and Carly and Max. Barbara. And then, as I said we're going to sing praises. Yeah, we're literally going to sing. There'll be a song. Because he loved the stage, he loved music, and he loved drama. So let's begin with Eric and Fern.
Oh boy. I'm Fern. I'm the big sister and family introvert. So if any of you have known me over the years, you know that I would never, ever get up and talk. However, I wanted to share a few things about Michael that many of you may not know because so many of you know him from work, and I know him his whole life. I used to joke about it. Can we actually have the same parents? Michael sings. He was on Broadway. He was Up with People. He did a TED Talk. And he did a commencement speech at FSU. I break into a sweat if there's two strangers in a room or I have to lead a staff meeting. As I said, I'm older than Michael. It's 13 years, actually. And when he was born back in 1965, moms at 35 thought they were old. My mom just didn't know what to do with him. So I thought I was his mom. I toted him around like a stuffed animal. I carried him everywhere. I used him as my wingman and to start conversations with strangers because he was cute even then. Of course, we grew up. We changed. We remained close. He visited me when he was 10 years old on an airplane in Texas or wherever I lived. When I had kids, he was a big part of their lives. My son, Rob, loved his 12-year-old uncle. And coined the name Kupu for him because he couldn't say Michael, and it was Maiku. My children still call him Kupu. Shira was absolutely in love with Michael, and he with her. He used to sit her up on the counter in the kitchen and put a pot on her head and sing to her, "You're every woman in the world to me." She still talks about it, and we still laugh about it. And if there wasn't a pot, he put a Tupperware on her head. But he was everything to her. Then came his girls, Barbara, Emily, Carly, and Hannah. You could see how they gave him purpose and meaning in life. If you knew him, you knew them. And then you loved them. He would say they were his oxygen, and they truly gave him the breath. He had visits. We ate a lot. He ordered everything. Nobody ever knew what they were getting to eat when they were with Michael. We celebrated his successes as families, either in person or with electronics, just texting. And if I would get really crazy, which I did a lot, very anxious, I'd call him, and he would be my rock and say, "What is the worst case scenario, Fern? Think about it." And he'd put things in perspective for me in just a minute. My grandkids came along, and he made each of them laugh and love him in just the few short times he spent with them. Natalie was Cupcake. Aaron was Bozo Brains for some reason. And Sydney, he called Julie. We don't know why, but he just did. And Kai became his salsa bar buddy. And Kai didn't have a nickname, but Kai uses air quotes, and I always called him Michael Goldberg. My heart is broken, and there is a space I don't think I ever will fill. Most of the texts these past few weeks were just about cancer. Cancer's my thing, unfortunately. And he'd ask me for advice or just guidance. And I, of course, told him to go for it. Get that treatment. By the tributes I've read and people I see here, I know how many lives he touched. But the messages are really clear. He was loved and respected in his field as a person. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to Michael. I begged him to hold on a little longer. And the world wasn't ready to lose such a creative, energetic, and plain good human. Michael, say hi to Mom and Dad, and we'll keep your song alive here. Love you, baby brother. We'll always keep looking up.
Hello, I'm Eric. Can you hear? Okay. That was beautiful. Heartfelt. And bear with me, but when Barb asked if I would speak, I said, sure, I'd love to. And so the next thing I did was I put on HBO, and I got to season 4, episode 9 of Succession. Happened to rewatch it, so now I'm just confessing I could either be Roman or Kendall. I'm shooting for Kendall, I mean it. But the one thing I did hear him say about his dad was that he was a force, and we know that's Michael was a force. This might sound like a public service announcement, and Michael, I don't think, would mind, but tonight happens to be the premiere of The Bear on Hulu. Michael and I loved that show for reasons maybe that you don't know, but we have a food service background many, many decades ago. We worked in the kitchens, we scrappy, we hosed, we chopped, and that show was just fun for us. And when it was announced that a second season was coming, we were texting to make sure we do it tonight. So if you have Hulu and you want to have a good memory for Michael, please watch it. If you need my password, I'm happy to give it to you. Okay, I have read hundreds of tributes to Michael, and they're all so beautiful. As the rabbi said, Fern and I have known Michael intimately for his entire life. Longer than anyone in the room. It's not a trophy. I just know where I stand and how much I miss him and love him. I can share with you some things from a brotherly standpoint, and that's what I want to share with you, different than all the tributes. In 1964, now don't get nervous, I'm not going to go every year. There were 4 of us living in Beach Hills, garden apartments in Douglaston. I was 8, Fern was 11, and I guess we were just having kind of a ho-hum existence. We needed a little more. Stickball, chow-chow cup, whatever was going on in our life. It just wasn't enough. Mom was pregnant. Little baby was coming, and that was a little odd. She was a little older back then. But it was wonderful. We were so excited. Michael also brought change to our family. We went from a 2-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom apartment. I went from sharing a bedroom with my sister to this little precious baby boy that I was thrilled to share a bedroom with. Couldn't be happier. So from early on in our small bedroom, Michael and I are 9 years apart. I think I used to chart it, but I always envisioned how our life was so distant when he was 0 and I was 9 versus what will happen over the next decades and how close we might come. And I used to always talk to him about it. So what I want to share with you, and the rabbi mentioned chapters, and when I was sitting there, I thought of it, take you through a few of my charts and what I remember about them. So if you just bear with me. 0 to 9, that was the first period of our life. That's the largest spread imaginable. But he brought so much joy to our family, except there was a period that Michael, I think at 18 months, he broke his thigh. And he was just kind of immobile for a long time. I think I just remember lots of hollering in the house, a lot of disruption because of this, except Fern and I and Michael, we united and we knew we'd get through this. The other thing during that period, I was bar mitzvahed, and Michael was, I would call the bar mitzvah mascot in his little dazzling tuxedo and bringing the talis. So I just remember that during that time. The next period of time, it was 9 to 18. That's the hugest gap imaginable. I'm a teenager, he's a kid. But what I do remember is every time I left him to go do my thing, it just hurt. I just wanted to be around him. But we also talked that the chart was going to improve. New decades are coming. Next chapter, 18 to 27. This is what I call the wild times. I was in the food service business, and I was lucky enough for 2 complete summers for Michael to spend it with me. And oh boy, what fun did we have. Shenanigans, late nights, car mishaps, female food service coworkers, cannabis, beer, everything else that's shown in the kitchen of a White Castle or the Bear. This period also included a worldwide tour with Up With People, Robbie Robot. Who knew that he was going to be a showman? But this was the decade it came out. Also in this decade, Michael was home with our mom, kind of the only child. We were already gone. And he turned my mom on to all the things that Michael loved. They became very close, and I'll forever be grateful for him to making my life my mom's life so fulfilled during that time. The next chapter, 27 to 38, Michael entered the ad business, as well as married Barbara and created this beautiful family that we see today. During that period, I remember my mom called me and said, "You must come down to Florida." I'm not sure why I wasn't going to anyway, because Michael is, for his 30th birthday, is going to sing the national anthem, like in a small event or a big event. It was big, and you must be there. I just tell you that because for him to be complete on that day, he needed me there. I came and it was amazing. The next chapter, 38 to 47, cell phones are everywhere. Not the ones we have in our pocket today, but the other cell phones. We talked. Wind blowing because we just had to talk wherever we were. We talked about careers, we talked about family. They were very frequent, very often, and very fulfilling. That's what I remember then. 47 to 56, this force of nature had evolved. On everything you know about the man, but just a force. But my dream had come together. This friendship and the gap has closed. I was an edge baby boomer. He was an edge Gen X. We were on the borders, so we became close as ever. We lost our parents, but the three of us were committed to be strong, do what was in their wishes, stay together, and honor everyone's memory and everyone's family. And we did that. During this period, Michael spent a few years in New York City. We had brothers' lunches often, which is also, we talked about years before. It was a regular thing. I loved having his family close. And for some reason during this period, because we also had separate lives and separate work, we would enjoy watching the other one crack up laughing about whatever it was. It just, we got so much joy of seeing joy in the other one. And that's what I remember during this period. The final chapter. This last chapter obviously has so much joy with the changes for Michael's children, marriages, graduations, and so much they have to live for. This is the one, I have a story that I'm going to tell you about Michael's professional career, a tiny one compared to all the ones that I've read. I've told it a few times, and it just meant a lot to me. It was after my dad died. I went to visit Michael and Barbara and the kids, and I really wanted to see Michael's office. He came back to Zimmerman. He had an office. I heard he had a bathroom in the office. I just needed to see it. So I was there, and I kind of managed to figure out how to get there. He went to work early, and I said, "Michael, I'm going to come. Today's okay?" He said, yeah, sure. I said, well, "How am I going to get there? Because you told me not to rent a car." He said, "Just use the Jeep." Okay. Well, that Jeep had just gotten delivered the day before to his house. I think there was actually plastic on it. He said, "Take the keys." I love my brother, but I wouldn't have done that with my new car. Just take the Jeep. You'll drive it. You'll figure it out. I mean, the radio wasn't set up, you know. So I go to Zimmerman. I walk in. He meets me in the lobby, and he lets me attend a meeting. And many of you people were at that meeting. 9 or 10 people. I think you were rehearsing for a pitch. I just remember watching this guy with such precision, finalizing what he needed to finalize, getting the respect of everyone in that room. Everyone was feeding off of what he had to say, and I was so proud of him. And I didn't get to see that often, but that one time was enough. So you guys are so lucky to have been with him for so much during that time. So thank you. And may Michael protect us all in the days and years ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Even though I pitch and present for a living, and what I do, I learned from Michael and a few others of you out there that helped make who I am. I'm going to use my written notes. I'm not going to wing it. Hope it doesn't disappoint Michael too much, and he doesn't deduct too much from my scorecard. But honestly, I feel I should have had about another 30 years at least to prep. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Scott Thaler. I first heard about Michael in 1990 when my sister's friend, Gila, had said, "Oh, you're interested in getting into advertising? There's this guy. He's unbelievable. Working on big pitches, great brands, doing award-winning stuff." The truth is, it really was a great foreshadowing of what he was going to do in his career. But when I got there, I think the reality was he was helping sell overpriced tickler sticks, a scuba tool for a brand called Sportsman's Paradise with Zev Arabak. He was working on writing a 42-page book on how to ripen a banana. 42 pages, right, Chuck? You know what I'm talking about. But man, he was going to go far, and he was going to create a lot. And as you guys can tell from the speed I'm going, I'm not going to hit my 3-minute mark. I apologize. I will try. We got an opportunity to meet and get to know each other a little bit more when I worked at Harris Drury Cohen. I was his intern. That's how we met. Later, I got to be his partner for about 11 years that we worked together, sort of progressing through advertising. First time we got to work through advertising together, working on brands like Sea-Doo and Del Monte and Six Flags and Northern Trust. Florida Panthers, countless other pitches that we did. We did a fake funeral for Mr. Six in our career. He convinced me one day to dress as a bullfighter and stand in the corner of a conference room as we pitched Iberia Airlines for 2 hours. And truly, he told me I would learn from it. What I learned is I'm not going into the weight service industry at all. We made Crocs relevant. We made cruises meaningful. We rebranded Atlantis. There's so much I could talk about that we ended up doing together. And we went on to work together again for another 13 years at Zimmerman. But what really started as a business relationship blossomed into a friendship. I'm going to actually say it's not. It wasn't. It was a family ship. In my opinion, the experiences and laughter and learning and love and support that he provided me, not always the greatest, but it was the best. It was something that filled my life and offered me a level of acceptance and companionship and opportunities to always push me forward. He never let me settle. He always knew that I could do more than I ever thought I could do, whether it be personally or professionally. He showed me by example how to be a great dad. I got to see everything he did with you guys. I mean, a lot. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. We were together for a lot of milestones. He offered me my first full-time job, paying me a whopping $14,500. Thanks, John. I saw how he raised you girls and what he was able to do with you guys. I watched him put creepy crawlers under your bed in the middle of the night. They were scared of him, and so he would hide it there so they would find it in the morning and either create a meaningful giggle or therapy for years, I'm not sure which. He was the first person to tell me I needed to meet Lyra, my wife. He came downstairs and said, you got to go, or upstairs and said, you got to go downstairs and see this person who I know is your life mate and the person you need to be with. He then stood beside us as we said our vows at our wedding. And Jill, yes, a girl like that does go for a guy like me. I was at your house, sitting on your couch, when you found out you were having twins. I was with him when he learned the hard way that eating a 12-hour-old tuna fish sandwich in the Miami airport and then getting on a very long flight to San Francisco was a really, really, really bad idea. He talked to me for hours and weeks after I lost my father to a long battle with Alzheimer's. He filled in and took the spot. He reminded me of how proud my dad was when he and I got to pitch for my dad's business together. He gave me words of advice. He gave me love. He gave me compassion. I have to tell you that the love, concern, and compassion that he showed me was unique. It was different. He didn't offer it up to everybody else. Or was it? I'm not sure it's as unique as I thought it was. I've quickly learned through all the calls and posts and texts, messages, conversations that we've had, that Michael had a sense of compassion and understanding that he gave not only to me, but he gave to everyone in here and a lot of people that aren't here today. He had an uncanny way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person. They were his best friends. They were influential, and they could also do more. He drove us all to do better, question what else we can do, and deliver at levels that we never realized before meeting him that we could achieve. And he drove us to unseen heights. The rabbi said when we leave funerals, we walk away empty. There's a moment, there's something that has to be filled. So I'm going to try to fill a little bit more, and I'm going to take a little bit more time. With a couple of lessons that he passed along to me that I just want to make sure that you guys all walk away with as we go. First, be better. Just be better. Whatever you did yesterday, there's opportunity to do better tomorrow. Or the next day, don't settle just because you accomplished something. Whatever it is that you did that won you or succeeded or got you to that next place, push further because there is no template to success. It's about working and rehearsing and honing in on that narrative, and you will do more. There are few problems that a good Sharpie can't fix. For those of you that worked with him or have seen him in that environment, he always had one of these arms. I chose red because that's when he tells me I'm wrong. Right now, he's going to stay too long. So I did it for him. I wrote it. But he just grabbed a piece of paper, and you could draw your way out. Start with a new idea. Don't start from expectations, but start from a place where you're creating something unique. Fewer words paint bigger pictures. I learned this lesson, but I'm not following it right now. So a lot of people think you have to overtalk like I'm doing now, but sometimes the simplest gestures or images can solve it. And I started working on a PowerPoint deck, and I was going to give it to Sonia to make it better. But I decided my words were a little more important. But just find simpler ways to say it, and just make sure you say it, show it, or do it every single day, because as he's taught us again, tomorrow is not a guarantee. He and I had a date on the calendar, supposed to do dinner, and it's not going to happen, but the dinners can still come. Last lesson, sometimes you need to slam on the brakes, even if it's going to scare the shit out of everyone around you. Apologize for the language. When Michael and I were driving across the state of Florida to go meet with Northern Trust Bank in 1990s-ish, I fell asleep in his car. Bad idea. If I remember correctly, it was a convertible Toyota Celica, I think. And I fell asleep. He proceeded to slam on the brakes and then scream with terror as I wake up, bracing myself for whatever crash was to come, screaming at myself and making it harder for me to ever be a passenger in a car again. But I think it's a good illustration on how Michael decided to live his life. He always did things his way. He planned out how he went on stage. He planned out how others joined him. He picked out exactly where they should be positioned and what he wanted to get out of the people around him. He even controlled the presentation of what it is. And even if it was scary, he would make the decision and he would go forward. Barbara and I talked a lot over the last weeks leading up to it. And this is exactly how he took control even at the very end. So he went through, very honestly, his whole life. Barbara, Emily, Carly, Hannah, Jonah, Max. Michael left us way too early, and we're going to have to find another way to hear his voice, to give us advice, to help us move forward, hear him tell us we did good, or those times that most likely he's going to tell me I could do better. But I want you to stop and I want you to look around this room real quick. As the rabbi pointed out, he's here. There's a piece, a voice, a momentum that he's created in every single one of us. He showed us that in his way of love and ways of feeling and providing, we need to provide a strong sense of purpose. And I encourage you guys to take what your dad has passed along with you and continue to push it forward. It felt good to have his support and have his love and his good words. I personally am going to miss him. I'm going to miss it. But I'm here for you guys and your families. I want to be the person he was to me, to you, and your families as it grows. Michael, I'm relieved that you've found peace. But selfishly, I'm angry. I'm angry that you're gone. I'll never stop asking you questions, not really getting an answer, but thinking about you, what would Michael do? Sometimes doing the opposite, but at least have your opinion in my head. I'll continue to tell all of you, because if any of you have ever been out with me, and all my poor coworkers since I stopped working with Michael, they have to hear about Michael Goldberg and the stories that I tell and the accomplishments of what it is that we did and what we did together. I'll carry his Sharpie forward. And I'll continue to share my opinions, as you taught me, in a series of scribbles, notes, and strategic thoughts. If there's some afterlife out there, which I hope there is, I hope you're hanging with my dad, telling stories that both make you smile and talk about the times we were all able to share together. I love you, Michael. Lyra and I will miss you and miss having you in our lives, but we will have the family there to support us. You are forever my big brother, and my love for you is immeasurable. You will be missed, but you will not be forgotten. I love you, buddy.
This is easier sitting in the seat than up here. It's a sad day. But I have to tell you, the Michael that I knew would ask you not to be sad today. The Michael that I knew at 12:10 would be planning lunch. And probably dinner, too. And his picks of where to go and what to order on the menu would be amazing. He would know which appetizer was really special, whether the coleslaw was mayo or vinegar based, and everything on that menu, and he would ask the waitress to pick the last item. And that's because Michael loved adventures. He loved to explore, to evaluate situations, and especially to steer clear of conventional experiences. And it wasn't just with food. He loved adventures of all kinds, and to push himself to find unfamiliar places. And Barbara and Emily and Carly and Hannah and Jonah and Max and Eric and Fern will tell you about all of those experiences. The cars, the clothes, the jobs. Oh, we're moving to New York. the homes, the decorating of the homes, the sports, pickleball, indoor soccer, you bought everything, road bikes, the boating club, I'm moving to North Carolina, and all those great vacations. He was forever interested in what the world had to offer. And he was unafraid to take risks. The risks that prevent most of us, the normal people, from enjoying the immersive experience, true excitement, unmitigated fun. And he especially loved to take the people he loved along with him on those crazy adventures and to push them into unfamiliar places. And he was kind about it. Well, usually he was kind about it. Sometimes it was a wreck. If you were on an adventure with Michael Goldberg, you had to expect some wobbles, some disappointments, some oddities, and a truly awkward moment now and then. But usually the experience was just incredible. You got the perfect view of the mountain. You got the best seats in the house. The amazing hiking trail, boat rides, the Eiffel Tower, really? The Blue Mosque, the entire island of Manhattan in 48 hours. And of course, there was some snacking along the way. And the best part was seeing him enjoy your amazement. Me, Michael, wow, this is really good. Michael, yes, I added some fresh dill and hot sauce to bring up the flavor. He loved to curate your unforgettable moment. And he didn't even need to be in the room or in your state. I was in California on my birthday one time, and he sent me $100 worth of In-N-Out burgers, animal style, just so I didn't miss out on that experience. I received packages of ribs, Chinese food. Everything that Michael thought would make me giggle, I got on my birthday. And his generosity was spread far and wide. He took my daughter Sophie on one weekend to find the very best fast food chicken sandwich in Broward County. It's KFC, by the way. The most chickeny. You're going to hear stories from his family, and they're all just a tiny fraction of the moments that make Michael Goldberg the magical man that he always was. So, we've come to deal with the loss of an incomparable, irreplaceable source of magic. But there's no turning back. It's now up to us to make sure that the adventures continue. Take a risk. Wear something that's inappropriate for your age. Eat something that you've never tried before. Buy a latte for a total stranger and strike up a conversation. Explore the world around you. Curate your life. And do all these things with the people you love and with your closest friends. Michael, thank you. You made a difference, and I appreciate it. I love you, man.
I so would be rather be anywhere else than here. This is going to be very, very difficult for me because, as you know, I am a blubbering idiot and I'm a total sap. So please bear with me and I'll do the best I can. I have a whole bunch of things written down here, but I woke up this morning and I'm thinking, and all these different emotions came into my head. I'm confused. I just don't understand how this happened or why. I want it to just be a bad dream. Keep thinking, oh, wake up. And then I'm sad. Michael was one of my closest friends in this entire world, and I will miss him intensely. Life will be very, very different without him. And then I'm angry. I'm angry that he didn't get to fight harder. I'm angry that I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Which brings me right back to being confused. I was going to read this script that I have here, but I have to go a little off script for a minute because over 30 years and thousands of experiences that, I didn't even know where to start. And certain things just pop into my head. And, as Jeff was talking, I remembered some things that we did. Michael liked to live with the shock factor. Liked to do things to just really, really shock and surprise people. He just got such a kick out of that. So I remember we're going biking one morning, and we're going to meet at his house. And I ride up on my bike, and there's Michael sitting on his bike in a mankini. I still have nightmares about it. But it was the shock factor. He just loved doing that. And then when we went whitewater rafting, I think it was for Jeff's 40th birthday, I believe. And the rapids were we were South Carolina, the rapids were pretty big at that time of year. And, we can take the normal route down, or you can take the really difficult route down. Michael's like, you're here to have a good time, baby, let's do it. And I almost drowned. And Jeff's brother almost drowned too. But it's okay. He got the shock and he enjoyed every minute of it. I think about times when the Tooth Fairy. I think of the Tooth Fairy. Michael was a little bit different because, we give the kids money because that's what you do. No, Michael would leave things like a spoon under their pillow. It was like torture. And Michael loved preying on little children. He just got such a kick out of. So he's watching my son Brendan one day, and yeah, you're even worse than him. But with this one, he's watching my son Brendan one day, and all we say, because you know how neurotic we are, make sure he's in his car seat. Great, no problem. We found out later that he was riding at 3 years old in the front seat of a convertible with no car seat. And he's like, but don't tell your parents. It's okay. And then there's the time Spencer, what he did to you. Poor kid. So Spencer's at their house one day, and he's like, I'm hungry. I want a snack. Of course, Michael gives him the doggy treats. And sits there and watches as he eats. But no, it gets better. It gets better because that wasn't enough. He then had to get peanut butter, smear it all over Spencer's face, and call the dog over as Michael held him down. And if that wasn't enough, poor Spencer. He's at my office one day, and I had to run for something, and Michael's sitting there watching him outside. And Michael's like, so, Spencer, you know any bad words? And Spencer at this time, I think he's like maybe 6 or 7, maybe, I'm not quite sure. And he's like, what do you mean? And Michael's like, come on, tell me the baddest word you know. And Spencer's like, no, I'm not allowed to say that. I can't do that. And Michael's like, come on, you can tell me, I won't tell anybody. And he's like, all right, how about this one? Michael says, you know this word? It rhymes with duck. And Spencer's like, Michael's like, you can say it. I won't tell anybody. Just whisper it in my ear. So Spencer whispers it in his ear. And Michael's like, oh my God, he said it. And the minute I get back, Spencer comes running to me crying. He's like, he made me say it. I'm so sorry. I'm not doing it again. And then there's little innocent Harrison at their house minding his own business. And Michael, because he gets sick satisfaction on creating little children, decides, I'm going to stuff him in the garbage can. And he proceeds to stuff him in the garbage can and put the lid on top. And the poor kid is banging from inside. Let me out! Let me out! But those are just some stories that came to mind, but totally off script, sorry. Anyway, now that I said that, again, bear with me because this gets a little sappy at times, but we are here today not only to mourn, but to celebrate the life and honor the memory of a remarkable individual who really touched our lives in the most profound and meaningful ways. He was an amazing friend, a loving father and husband. He exemplified passion, intelligence, and insight in every facet of his life. Over the past 30 years, we've been fortunate to have found the most amazing friends. Our small group of 3 couples found an instant connection and bond to one another in 1993, and we've been growing up together over the years ever since. Our group of 6 quickly became 15 as all of our children arrived and they grew up together. There's been so many adventures through the years, fishing trips, whitewater rafting, skiing adventures, cruising the Mediterranean, hiking, playing board games, and just sitting around for hours shooting the breeze. We spent 30 years together and never got bored. We all find that pretty amazing. I'm going to touch on the cars a little bit. He loved cars too, just like Jeff was saying before. And I remember the time sitting in their driveway when they lived in Plantation, and he pulls up in this little 4-seater MG convertible. So we're all in the driveway. So Barbara's sitting there, and hey, honey, look what I got. So she looks at the car, and she counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then she turns. Michael, she says, you have a family of 5. There's only 4 seats. And he's like, damn it. Yes, he brought it back the next day. Michael wasn't just an ordinary person. He was an extraordinary soul who radiated an infectious enthusiasm for life. His love for family and friends was the true essence of his being. He cherished the bonds of friendship that he made. He nurtured them with unwavering dedication and held them close to his heart. I was blessed to have been a part of his core, of his inner circle, and I think he made everyone feel that way. And I got to experience his unwavering loyalty, support, and unyielding love. He taught all of us the true meaning of friendship and family, and his absence will definitely be felt. It wasn't only his intelligence and friendship that made him different. It was the depth of his emotions that made him truly remarkable. Whether it was joy, sorrow, or empathy, he embraced every single emotion wholeheartedly. His innate ability to connect with others on an emotional level was truly extraordinary. He could empathize with their struggles, celebrate their successes, and comfort them in times of need. Beyond his devotion to family and friends, Michael found immense fulfillment in his work. He possessed a unique ability to see beyond the surface and recognize the potential impact of his ideas. His passion for his chosen profession was endless, and his creativity knew no bounds. His keen intellect and insight allowed him to see the big picture and foresee the end game before others could even comprehend it. As many of his colleagues have written in the past few days, he was a true visionary in his field, and he inspired others to pursue their own passions as well. So this is a little bit of a hard part now, because we're getting to talk about his family. In addition to his many accomplishments, there is one aspect of Michael's life that shone brighter than anything else. And this was the deep and boundless love he held for his family. His daughters, Emily, Carly, and Hannah, were always the center of his universe. His love for them knew no bounds, and he embraced the role of adoring dad with unrelenting devotion. He nurtured their dreams, celebrated their milestones, and offered unwavering support in every endeavor they pursued. His ferocious love for the three of you and his impact on your lives will forever be imprinted on your hearts. He will always be with you. Max and Jonah, the same goes for you guys. Once you came on the scene, you became the sons that he never had. And he loved you like you were his own. Equally remarkable was the incredible love Michael had for Barbara. He truly cherished her as his confidant, his best friend, and his pillar of strength. The love they shared was a beacon of light that illuminated their lives. And Barbara, I hope you find comfort in remembering your love story, which will transcend time. We've traveled the world together, celebrated milestones, shared important life rituals, and just shared our day-to-day lives. We've laughed together, cried together. When life takes unexpected turns, we always support and love each other. Now is our table for 6. Now has an empty chair. We will support our friends, our chosen family, as we put the pieces back together and forge ahead. Michael's passing will leave a void in our lives that cannot be filled. The world has lost a brilliant mind, a compassionate soul, and a guiding light. But as sad as we are, we have to remember the incredible legacy he leaves behind. He taught us to love fiercely and laugh from your very core. He taught us the power of insight and to pursue our passions with endless determination. He taught us to eat, and eat well. Michael was a definite foodie, and I really will miss sitting back and letting him order for the entire table. Let's honor Michael by loving wholeheartedly, living our lives to the fullest, and by embracing our own passions with the same fervor he exhibited. Michael, you may not be here physically, but your spirit will always be in our hearts. Thank you for making me a better person and for inspiring all of us to be better. Thank you for being one of the best friends I ever could have. I know your light will continue to shine brightly through every person whose life has been touched by you. I will miss you more than you will ever know. Rest in peace, my friend. I love you.
I've thought a lot about this, not so much what I'm going to say, but the length of how long I speak. My dad was pretty impatient with things like that, and if I run too long, I can hear him say, "Land the plane." And if my story's too boring, I'm going to hear him say, "And then I found $5 to make it more interesting." As the youngest Goldberg girl, his number 3 and his B, I still face the fact that there is a lot in life I don't know, and a lot about my dad I never truly understood. For starters, I don't understand how he could expect me to write a eulogy that encompasses 22 years of our daddy-daughter relationship into 4 minutes. I never truly understood why a 57-year-old straight man purchased a neon yellow Jeep Wrangler and spent his downtime binge-watching All-American and crying to Christopher Jackson's solo in Hamilton. I don't understand why he felt compelled to drop me off at elementary school and scream, "You're adopted, bye!" Out the window so the entire carpool line could hear. Or why Dad created a routine of adding the phrase, "in my pants," to every Chinese restaurant fortune cookie we ever pulled apart. Or why he helped me choose a college strictly based on how aesthetically pleasing their campus colors were. Or why he used his energy in some of his last moments in the hospital to ask me what happened in the Ted Lasso finale. I'll never understand why a human like Michael Goldberg only gets a short amount of time here. Why a pure, glass-half-full optimist is the one who leaves too soon. Who believes nothing in life can't be solved without a La Spada sub, a cup of coffee, and a round of pickleball. How is it fair that one man has the power to brighten everyone's world, but then leave it so dim without his presence? I don't understand. But there are a lot of things I understand perfectly. I understand that my dad cherished being a girl dad. For him, every day was International Women's Day. He would often say, "Emily made us parents, Carly made us parents of twins, and Hannah made us realize we're done." He picked out our outfits and was deeply offended when we opted out of wearing them publicly. And Sundays weren't for football, they were for the Tony Awards. Life was a game, and we were always his key players. I understand my dad lived by the overused phrase, "life is good," but it's true. When he was here, life was simply just good. We never had to grow up to be doctors or lawyers, and we never needed perfect SAT scores. We just needed to be good people. Because good people light up rooms and make others feel like the most important people in them, and because good people make good news. I understand we didn't just love each other by nature, we liked each other by choice. My dad created a thin line between being a parent and being a friend. There were no conversations that a tall, flat white couldn't instigate, no bad days where a "hurry up and come home" B text couldn't cure. I loved being in his presence more than anything. He gave me more laughs than my underwear wants to admit. There was nothing I can say about him now that we hadn't already told each other in person. It was such a rare, beautiful thing. Our friendship thrived on transparency. Better to have the difficult conversation up front than live a life full of secrets. Maybe that's why today feels so wrong, not just because I'm losing my dad, but because I'm losing my best friend. Dad, you felt ageless and invincible. You were my map, my moral compass guiding me each day. Now I've never felt more lost. A world without Michael Goldberg is a world I'd never imagined living in. A world where my dad can't dance with me at my wedding the way I witnessed him do with both of my sisters. A world without burnt breakfast sandwiches and Blackstone grilled potatoes in the morning. A world where I now have to follow in his advertising footsteps without him even seeing. A world where New York City feels less magical, Amsterdam feels further, and North Carolina feels lonelier. I wish he could read the outpour of love and praise he's received on his Facebook timeline in just 2 days. His head would be absolutely massive. But he didn't need social media to know how my mom and my sisters felt. We were lucky enough to get to tell him in his last moments, every word and every question. And the best part was that he's heard it all before. Nothing was left unsaid, and we know he's so at peace. But it doesn't make goodbyes any easier. On my 22nd birthday last October, he wrote to me and said, "I love the 22-year-old you are, a little more than 21 and a little less than 23, because that's the way loving you more and more each day works. More than just love, which is easy. I also like you more, respect you more, admire you more, and miss you so much effing more than even yesterday." Well, Dad, you may not see 23, but I love you more and more each day, even if my heart will break a little each time. I like you more, I admire you more, and trust me, I miss you so much effing more than even yesterday.
I think I'm one of very few people in the world with the privilege of calling up Michael Goldberg to ask him for a blessing. People asked him for advice and for his ideas, for his creativity, his hot takes, sometimes about New York's best slice of pizza, all of those things. But on April 4th, 2017, I called him and Barbara up on FaceTime, like the good Fiddler on the Roof viewer that I was, so I could ask for their blessing to propose to Emily. I didn't make a lot of small talk, and like Michael, I'm very emotional. And I tearfully went into talking about how much I adored Emily and how amazing, and all the good stuff. And after I'd sort of blubbered through for a while, I finally sort of managed to choke out that I wanted their blessing to ask if I could propose. And I'll always remember what Michael said. He looked me straight in the eyes. He went, you cut out. Can you go right back to the part where you started talking about Emily? And I froze for a minute. I wasn't 100% if he was kidding. And then he cracked the biggest smile in the world, one I think everybody in this room knows so well. That smile that let you know you're always in on the joke with him. His humor and his joy always brought the whole world along. They made everybody feel like his best friend, made everybody feel like family. Just 6 years later, he would remind me of almost exactly that same theme, that same blessing, with one of the last things we talked about in the hospital when he wasn't speaking so much anymore. He reminded me to meet the world a little more calm, a little more equanimity. Very simple pantomime. I'm sorry if you can't quite see in the back, but I think you'll get it from context clues. During some really hard moments over the last couple days, I've thought about a very even keel hand motion, this deep breath, this smile. For me, part of loving Michael and part of learning his Torah, of learning that deep wisdom, such an incredible, special father-in-law, is carrying forward the qualities I admire about him most. When we, and by we I mean I, meet the moments that can make us feel a little more, I want to try and react the way I know he would, with joy, with a loving smile, with a joke, a little bit of.
Before I begin, I want to thank the medical team at the University of Miami Hospital, whose doctors, nurses, respiratory specialists, oncologists, hematologists, and every other pair of colored scrubs who tended to my dad over this past month. But most importantly, I want to thank my mom. My mom has been the case manager, social worker, media connector, schlepper, and translator of all the new medical jargon that no one wanted to learn. She has carried us all through the deepest turmoil and pain and continues to be our rock. Thank you, Mom, for holding us together during some of the darkest days. I am Michael Goldberg's daughter, and I mean that in every sense of the phrase. Biologically, it's quite apparent that I have his genes by just looking at my entire face. My coat of freckles, my lazy left eyelid, utterly horrendous toes, my smile hidden beneath bold Warby Parker glasses are all a copy and paste of my dad. His bar mitzvah pictures were just sepia images of me in a suit. And my prime college albums look like I too was an A-Pi at FSU. I am Michael Goldberg's daughter in ways even deeper than our squinty smiles and ability to crack our necks with the same bellows. Although I am the only Goldberg family member who is not in advertising and PR, my dad just got me and my black sheepish ways with a validation I will never take for granted. Even if he didn't fully understand my quirks, he respected my old soul and endorsed almost every idea I had, almost to a fault. In 4th grade, I ran for student council treasurer. And in one weekend, my dad had printed 400 flyers with the brand name Vote Gold on the front. And when I inevitably lost, because I can actually barely do long division, my dad lovingly suggested that we start a smear campaign about my 10-year-old opponent, Ari Hadar. Michael,
my mom would scold. What? He'd insist. Have you heard about his drug problem? When I learned how to flip an omelet in the 6th grade, he had 72 customized mugs ordered to our house with the brand, logo, and title, "Emily's a Good Egg." A natural cheerleader, he perused storefronts on Las Olas and was ready to launch my career as an entrepreneur. When I told him I wanted to start an interfaith club, my dad created a logo brand, and soon 150 t-shirts arrived at our doorstep to be distributed to synagogues and churches around the city. My interests would continue to evolve, and each time he followed closely with a leather-bound journal, colorful Sharpies, and a standing invitation to the nearest independent coffee shop to brainstorm. I am Michael Goldberg's daughter due to my inability to use a menu. It was hard for others to understand at first, but eventually you'd come to learn that my dad would take your input at restaurants as mere suggestions. Ultimately, my mom would just roll her eyes as my dad secretly pointed at different items on the menu for only the waiter to see, like it was some kind of game that they shared. He assured our family that financial success can be defined as the ability to take us to any Chinese restaurant and feel comfortable ordering enough food without compromise. We slurped so many noodles without even wondering what these glossy menus contained. It's where my dad developed the concept of the party of 5. We could always count on him to guarantee us a chair at the table, our needs met, and a consistent way to be together. My dad ensured we always felt full in every meaning of the word. Part of being Michael Goldberg's daughter is the unavoidable reality that I'd share him with all kinds of people. Sometimes this wasn't actually wanted, like the times I would Skype with my friends, and my dad would sneak up behind me on the computer, pull off his t-shirt, grin, and then run away. Or the time I asked for advice about how to make friends in high school, and my mom lovingly said, "Be you." And my dad said without missing a beat, "Lie when there's personal gain, drink to fit in, and smoke when you're stressed." But most of the time, he was an inherent gatherer of people, offering platters of homemade breakfasts on cutting boards to the revolving door of friends we brought home. He was deeply involved in my social life, making friends feel like extended members of our family. Most importantly, my dad had a personal goal of making every single person, especially my mom, laugh from their kishkas. He once clued me in on his ranking system. 5 points if he could make my mom have to double over and do Kegel exercises. 10 points for dry heaving, and jackpot if she could pee just a little bit. Most of the jokes he had with many of you in this room did not pass the shul-appropriate screening, but some of them had the ability to offer more comfort to people than all my years of pastoral training ever could. I remember he and I visited his good friend Michelle, who was unfortunately dying from cancer. He asked her how she was feeling, and as she started to explain her ailments and pains, he cut her off and said, "God, Michelle, way to make this all about you." My last memory of that visit was my dad making someone in so much pain laugh. My dad had the unique gift of bringing laughter to people in their hardest moments. I am Michael Goldberg's daughter when it comes to gratitude. While I post perhaps only 1/48 of the content my dad posts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, he and I both show our appreciation for others through acts of service and small tokens of affection. We both wear our hearts on our sleeves. My dad never once hesitated to tell me, and literally all of you, about how proud of me he was, and he always declared how he never understood other parents who didn't genuinely see their kids as their friends. "I don't just love you unconditionally," he would remind me out of nowhere. "I genuinely like you too." What will take me a lifetime to understand, however, was the clear final expression of gratitude and relief on his face when the palliative care team came to his bedside. He held 2 thumbs up at them and held his hands together in prayer at all of us, grateful to be looking up rather than ahead at a long road of suffering. The most difficult pain I have today is the knowledge that, please God, there will soon be a Michael Goldberg's granddaughter that he won't get to hold in his arms the way he once held me. I have to have faith that their neshamas are already crossing now. I trust my dad has already scouted out the best local coffee shop and bought out a rainbow of Sharpies to brainstorm all of her future ideas. Dad, you always said 70% right and 110% confident. Just a few days ago, you assured me that the pain of this loss will be temporary and it will grow easier over time. Well, MG, I'm here as your stubborn, heart-sleeved, squinty-eyed, stubby-toed, cup half full firstborn to tell you otherwise. I'm 110% right and confident in saying that it won't just be temporary. I will spend the rest of my life proudly telling people that I am Michael Goldberg's daughter. And I'll work forever to fulfill the words of the same song you sang to me when I was 5 years old on a karaoke machine and at my wedding. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue. I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love.
Dear Michael, I've known you since I was 15 years old, and I can't imagine the rest of my life without you. There was something about you that made you special. The way you spoke, the way you laughed, the way you loved. There was always that extra special thing. I'd like to think that we saw the world in a similar way. I'd like to think that you knew I'd be here to listen the way you listened, to care the way you cared, and to love the way you loved. I promise I'll keep working on perfecting my pickleball serve. I promise to always order extra for the table. And most importantly, I promise Carly will be in good hands. I will continue to provide her the support that you always did. I will do everything I can to fill your shoes. But I know that could take a lifetime. Thank you for bringing together my favorite people in one place. But know that you were that extra special thing. I miss you, MG. I love you, Dad.
My dad's final moments actually were really on brand. He designed his own destiny like it was a keynote deck. He literally conducted his own curtain call. It was so weird. The ICU was just like a Broadway stage, and it was super dramatic, and it was theatrical. It was everything you would expect. We were all hovered around his bedside. We were grasping at his last words. We were speaking through this like poetic pantomime because he couldn't talk. He was drawing hearts. He was drawing peace signs in the air. And then he did this really magical thing where he took our hands and he would start drawing on our palms, and we would repeat the letter after him just to make sure we got it. You know, I love you, good luck, yeah. And then he took our hand and he drew an L. And then he drew an I. And then an N, and a K, and an E. He was writing the word LinkedIn. Like in a hospice bed, he was like giving us some feedback. He had like suggestions to make on the copy we were writing in our profiles. And then he had the chutzpah to turn to my mom and ask her for the name of that pad thai dish he got in Amsterdam last week. He was so strange. He really died exactly as he lived. He was curating our communications strategy. He was hunting for the best curry, and he was surrounded by his girls, which was just so him. Despite how difficult this last month was, he really never once wavered in his conviction. He preferred to be buried underground than be told his prognosis was up in the air. His body definitely betrayed him, but his spirit was unflappable and ever intact. He lived by Donnie Deutsch's motto, often wrong, never in doubt. He waved that certainty more proudly than a rainbow pride flag. He was sure And when he's sure, we're all sure. It reminded me of that certainty he had when I asked him around high school if I could start taking singing lessons. And he said, you realize that would be like Idina Menzel's daughter asking to outsource a vocal coach, right? Even though he had the stubbornness of a 57-year-old white guy, he had the heart of a 15-year-old preteen girl. My dad was so emotional. Like when his colleague Anush asked him to be a reference for a new job, probably just to make sure, like, whatever, he wasn't a criminal felon. And the recruiter called my dad, just to confirm. And he got on the phone and said, hi, Michael, how do you know Anush? And he said, he was just such a special guy. The recruiter goes, I'm sorry, are you crying? And he was weeping to the hiring manager and just got so choked up when talking to HR. My dad cried to everything. He cried to Barbra Streisand songs. He cried when I told him I was in love for the first time. He cried when he got Barry Manilow fan mail. He cried at my bat mitzvah at the synagogue. He cried every time he talked about his mom. He cried every time, And I'm Telling You I'm Not Going from Dreamgirls came on. And that gene was very much passed along firmly in my Punnett square. My DNA got every tear. I got his nose. I got his big square toes. I got his obsession with the spotlight. I got his cravings for aged cheddar. I got everything. I am the apple. I am just hoping the tree was happy. I may have followed in your ad industry footsteps, but being your daughter is the job I'm proudest to have on my resume. When my friends heard you were sick, they said, this must be impossible. Your dad has always been your rock. Dad, you're not my rock. You're my world. You're my sun. You're my entire universe. I know you struggled with oxygen this month, but I'll never breathe the same way again for the rest of my life. Your heart may have been compromised for a minute, but mine will never beat the same way again. Yeah, you suffered really hard for the last couple weeks, but I'm the one who's never gonna make a recovery. I'm taking so much of me. You're taking so much of me with you. Sorry. Sorry. But I'm taking so much of you with me. I'm always going to be my best when I'm Michael Goldberg's daughter. I know that I'll see you again. I'll see you along the canals of Amsterdam. I'll see you in the mountains of North Carolina. I'll see you on the corner of 72nd Street in Columbus outside of the Sensuous Bean. I'll see you on a big rock in Central Park staring into our hole in the sky. Maybe I'll just find you in the Apple iCloud. I'll feel you in every Rent song. I'll feel you in every email I send, every latte I drink, every PowerPoint I write. I'll feel you everywhere. I'll love our party of 5 with everything I have. I'll make sure Mom laughs until she pees a little. I'll dance with Hannah at her wedding, and I'll hold your first granddaughter, even if she gets your weird toes. You've got a way about you, Dad. I've loved every ounce of you, but I liked you even more, and that's extraordinary magic. Thank you.
Hey, Michael. I could use a good opening for this eulogy I have to give. If he were alive, I'd be asking him that question. He'd ponder for about 10 seconds, and then he'd give me his first take. I'd tell him, no, I'm not saying that. He'd shake his head and say, okay, but that's the line right there. Trust me. And I'd mull it over, and I'd toss it around. I'd move on, return to it later. And eventually I'd say, you know what? I'll go with it. Because Michael often had a good gut instinct. One of you said, often wrong, never in doubt. This is the title of a book written by Donnie Deutsch, who Michael worked for about a decade ago in New York. Now, Michael did not coin that credo, but he basically lived it. It's like a delicate recipe of a healthy handful of overconfidence, sprinkled with some street smarts, instinct, and a complete lack of fear. And for as long as I've known him, that was his philosophy. Michael was a glass half full kind of guy. He oozed optimism. Perhaps this was honed by his year of traveling after high school with the rose-colored, eupeptic, up-with-people performers, and then validated with some 3 decades later through his love of peace signs and giant smiley face stickers on his hefty, incandescent yellow Jeep. Michael loved the concept of happy, and he pursued it all the time. Initially, like many who first meet this big guy with a larger-than-life personality, I was drawn by his charm, his unique ability to make people laugh, and admittedly his singing voice when we first met 37 years ago. I learned very quickly that Michael thrived on attention, admiration, and being on stage. It's all been said before, but performing and singing, giving TED Talks, a commencement speech at FSU, he loved presenting. I, a little bit more comfortable backstage, offered the grounded balance, and this balance served us well for 3+ decades of our married life. He'd want to leap, knowing the net would magically appear. I would prefer to pause, research, think about it before making any wrong moves. He was impulsive, I was cautious, but together we would arrive at a common ground. Often the one with more passion about the issue at hand won the race, especially when it came to parenting. For me, my priority was to embed a Jewish upbringing for our girls, including day school and Jewish summer camp, to give them a solid foundation of knowing who they are. So grateful we did that. For him, he wanted to treat them as friends early on, introduce them to questionably inappropriate movies and Broadway shows at an early age, and teach them how to lie for personal gain. But seriously, we did figure out how to take our different personalities and blend them well to raise 3 of the most amazing humans I will ever know. That was our absolute best example of our life together. And Emily, Carly, and Hannah, he lives in you. And I will make sure for as long as I live that I will be the better parts of him, and I will be the balance that he had, and I'll still be your balance, like always. I was going to tell you the story about how his judgment was not always on target when he bought that 4-seater car, but I'll save that one. Michael did not use Google Maps to get to any destination. He never even worried about the address. He preferred to find the path that gave him the most peace. So he would prefer a beach drive down A1A over using I-95, even if it meant arriving hours later. I never understood it. He craved a clean inbox and a house free of clutter. He's not a saver. His closet is impeccable. I, on the other hand, hold on to every photo and newspaper from the 90s that I still haven't finished reading, and we balance each other. Michael was born with a sharp business gut. Armed with a pure lack of fear, he inspired us to aim higher than we might have considered. It was Michael who suggested I launch my PR firm back in 1993. I was dealing with your basic job dissatisfaction with my first real job. I did what most spouses would do, came home and complained over dinner. But instead of empathy, Michael offered what was to him an easy solution. Leave. Start your own agency. I'm 27, I said. So what, he replied, as if this was a complete no-brainer. What do you have to lose? So 30 years later, I can attest his gut was right. O&G has been such an important part of my life for 3 decades now, and I'm grateful he planted that seed. Michael was always the visionary, the idea guy, the dreamer. He reached for rings whenever he could. The kind of guy who would seize the 2-hour layover in an airport to hop in an Uber to get the best slice of pizza, make it back in time for the next flight. Okay, fair. We missed some flights in our days. But like I said, often wrong, never in doubt. Michael was the driver of his life from day one to the last minute. He didn't let life happen to him. He unabashedly created the life he wanted for him. A true Broadway fan, he loved the stage. At about this time, 23 years ago, I was pregnant with Hannah, Michael earned himself a dream of a lifetime, a walk-on role in his favorite show, Rent. No, this was no audition. It was a silent auction opportunity, and he made sure to be the top bidder. So we all flew to New York to cheer him on and watch him take a bow at that curtain call. And only Michael would find a way to land on Broadway any way he could. He loved New York. Did not want to regret never having worked in the Big Apple, that advertising mecca. When he first approached me with the concept of uprooting our lives from the city I've lived in my entire life, yanking our kids out of the school year mid-year, and shifting them into that bustling urban metropolis so that he could pursue his dream, I was adamantly opposed. Absolutely no, hard pass, not happening. He pushed, I resisted. He persuaded. I said, let's just wait a little longer. Let's let them graduate high school. He begged me to take the leap and let him fly. Let us fly. It would be an adventure of a lifetime, he said. I'll do all the work. I'll make it easy. Just trust me. So we're in New York. And it was rough in the beginning, but I have to say, it evolved into the most meaningful and pivotal chapter in our family story. It gave us such incredible, life-altering experiences, memories we will share forever. It gave our girls this comfort and love of that crazy city. Carly, it gave you the love of your life. And it gave me perspective and the ability to trust my amazing colleague. Shout out to Matt for helping me lead my firm. And a special shout out to Jordan Zimmerman for eventually luring him back as only Jay-Z can do. Michael was an extraordinary marketing maven. As you all know, I feel like I'm repetitive. He had an uncanny ability to take a product and hone in on exactly what the problem was, what needed to be solved, how best to position it, differentiate it, and market it. He was a new business guru. He used his charm, his finesse, his humor, his self-deprecation, along with that bizarre yet eye-catching hieroglyphical charts and images to create the most memorable keynote presentations ever. We weren't quite sure what those circles and arrows meant, but he knew, and that's all that mattered. Oh, he loved the deck, which is a presentation. He made a deck for everything. When we took the kids on trips for itineraries, there was a deck. Special occasions, there was a deck. Even when we met with our estate attorney a year ago, I said, maybe I'll mention it to the kids one day. But no, family meeting, we have a deck. It's called When We Die. And the first was cry and then clear my search history. Michael was quirky and fun and did his best to make everything a game of some kind. No one in his circle of people could ever say, guess what? Without him saying multiple choice. And then he insisted we come up with 3 options. One that had the random facts we were about to share. And then there was a strategy of determining what the right answer was. It's never the first one, he would say. And then he'd share a thought process about why he'd go with option C. I mean, really, who cares? But he did. No one in our family, as you all know, could go to a restaurant and order whatever they wanted. He had to craft a well-orchestrated process. First, culling out the desires and cravings and dietary restrictions of everyone at the table, which he calculated and kept in mind. Then meticulously scouring the entire menu, categorically, taking into consideration unnecessary duplications or overlaps of food groups, then listen to the specials, because, last-minute pivot. And then he'd summon the waitstaff, have them adhere to that secret ordering process, so that everyone at the table would be surprised and delighted with what he believed they would enjoy most. And without question, there was always something for the table. Michael wasn't a big reader of literature, but he knew about social media trends early. He introduced me to the art of Jeep ducking. This is a random little wink that drivers of Jeeps seem to share. Apparently, this began during COVID to bring a little cheer to others. So owners place a little rubber yellow duck on a parked Jeep that you spot. It was a very quirky way of spreading kindness, and he loved it. I have many memories of Michael tossing a duck into the Stolman's car in our parking garage and teaching friends and family, remember Janice, how to duck others when they drove in the car with us. He loved it so much that we're actually asking all of you on your way out to take a duck, although they aren't made for everyone, but if you can, take a duck and pass a smile into someone else's car. And if we run out, we can get more on the web. Sorry. Put it on my bill. Sorry. Michael had a lot of passions. Rosie, our bulldog, Amsterdam and pickleball, North Carolina, App State, Rent, falsettos, Dreamgirls, West Wing, Love Actually, Barry Manilow, ranking Greek food, analyzing Super Bowl commercials, not the game, Colin Coward, eggs on wooden board, TikTok recipes, diners and dim sum and coffee. He also loved the everything bagel seasoning so much that he once said, let's pour it over his coffin along with the dirt when that day should occur. And when we told him he would do that just a couple days ago, he gave us 2 thumbs up. Michael loved his family, Eric Fern, all the kids, all the wacky Wagners, the nieces and nephews, and especially the new little ones. From his hospital bed, he mentioned Oliver and the banana. He mentioned Miles and the convertible ride, and he cherished his lifelong friendships with the friends who are family, the table of six, his beloved advertising colleagues, his besties from API, Up With People, and he embraced all of my friends like his own. But without question, his greatest passion were our three girls. He was incredible hands-on #girldad from the moment we met them, or he met them. He didn't avoid any sensitive topic. In fact, he welcomed them. Puberty drama? Sure. Boy troubles? He's got answers. Menstruation? Bring it. Years ago, I recall quietly confiding in Michael that one of our daughters had expressed a desire for birth control pills. Before I could even Google how to confront teenage relationships with your child, Michael sprung into the air like a gazelle about to strike an assailant to immediately take said daughter for coffee to have an important father-daughter chat. And while one could argue that he impulsively stole that precious maternal moment from me, I was secretly grateful for it and in awe of his sheer authentic desire to connect with her in such a meaningful way. I can assure you, I might have been a tad more cautious with my advice to her, but the balance worked out in everyone's favor. Fast forward to now. Even as he took his final breaths in that dreadful ICU room days ago, Michael was clear-headed enough to write one summarizing word of how he felt about each of his daughters. It was very easy for him. Like Carly said, he took the pen. Actually, first he did this, then he took a pen and with a shaky hand and his idiosyncratic handwriting jotted these words. For Emily, he wrote the word proud. He was so enormously proud of you and how you are charting a path very few women are brave enough to do. You bring him, and of course, and me too, so much pride, and he was awestruck. And you're going to be the most wonderful mother on top of your rabbinical accolades. Carly, he wrote the word hero for you. Again, spot on. Your indelible spirit, ability to light up the room, your fearless determination and love of the very career he spent his lifetime building deeply resonated with him. You are such a talent. And by the way, your decks are next level. And Hannah, he simply wrote the word friend. You were his pop culture buddy, his partner in crime, even when I specifically told him to not show you that movie Carrie at age 11 because I thought it would terrify you, and he did anyway. You are his Ted Lasso companion, his social media guru, his Poshmark pal. He loves sharing those hobbies with you. Jonah, he gave you the most amazing parenting advice ever in 2 seconds flat. He wrote down quickly, if you're okay, they're okay. They look to you. He's going to frame that. Max, he so loved your pure heart. He wanted to protect it always, and he loved how you made and make Carly feel. So now we're going to carve our new chapter together, guys. We're going to be a team. The shift in the wind means we'll just adjust the sails. And even though we may have to now order our own food at restaurants, we'll take the good memories, the gifts he gave us, the lessons, and we'll keep them close. We'll laugh at all the fun moments. We'll cry at the new ones he's missing out on. Hannah's wedding one day. The beautiful granddaughter he won't meet in 6 months, but perhaps if he gets his way, she'll know him as G. Nothing makes me sadder than knowing we won't be grandparenting together, because that's a big loss. We'll get through this nightmare together. It will get easier in time, just as he predicted in that ICU room. His instinct was right. You will see. We all must take comfort in knowing that Michael is leaving the world in the exact way he wanted to. He's happy. And we should now go back into the world and continue that legacy.
us is born the same. We don't know why, it's the way we came. Every heart beats a little differently. Each soul is free to find its way, like a river that winds its way to the sea. For life is a journey, and there are many roads beneath the sky. And there are many good people who don't see eye to eye. Not every man can sing your tune. From where he stands, there's another view. With every turn, we're learning more, and perhaps we'll find that the walls we build are only in the mind. There are many roads to go, and they go by many names. They don't all go the same way, but they get there all the same. And I have a feeling that we'll be someday when the roads come together up Broadway.
Wow. You know, you come to a funeral and the family thanks you for coming because they're polite people and they really appreciate everybody being here. And then sometimes you come to a funeral and you say to the family, no, thank you. The family and friends who spoke today, you absolutely opened your hearts. You allowed us to enter into the most intimate aspects of your relationships with him. And we sit there and watch and say, wow, there are still people like that. There are still families like that. This is incredibly uplifting. That's what I like the name of the group. What was it? It had Up With People? Yeah, Up With People. That's what he was, up with people. If he was with people, he was up. Right? And we've all been uplifted today. And that's what he would have wanted. We laughed, we cried, we were lifted up. One more bit of Torah before we bring it to a close. It's a story the rabbis tell about a great king. And the great king hired many laborers to work in his vineyard. One day, the workers noted that one of their fellow laborers had only worked part of a day, not the full day. Yet when the king came at the end of the day to thank his laborers, because he did each day, he thanked them and to give them their pay for the day, they all received the same amount. So one of the laborers came forward and said, "Almighty King, you're so filled with wisdom. There's something we don't understand." Ask my son. Well, how is it that we who worked a full day and he who worked but part of a day receive the same wages? We don't understand. And the king said, "My son, you ask a very good question, and it's a really simple answer. You see, he accomplished in but part of a day more than you accomplished in a full day." We know who the king is. The king is Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's the Holy One, praised be he, and we are the laborers. And he accomplished more in part of a day than most of us could ever hope to accomplish, even if granted a full 120 years. He played so many different roles. You heard from his siblings. Wonderful stories, how a younger brother, how you helped raise him, and then he became your friend and someone you admired, and he admired you. It's a beautiful story. I said, we need a book. That's a great, great chapter in the book. Then, of course, as a husband, a good wife is a crown to her husband, the rabbis say. A wife is one's heart's delight. He felt like a king standing next to you. You were his delight. He was your delight. And when you stood under the chuppah and the marriage took place, it was a blessing that was recited, probably chanted by Cantor Aroni, right? And in the blessing it says, may you become Re'im Ahuvim. Re'im means friends, Ahuvim means lovers. May you become friends and lovers. In other words, may the love that brought you to the chuppah be strengthened by the friendship, and then when you look back, the love will have grown and the friendship will have deepened. That blessing that you received from Rabbi Litchers and Cantor Aroni when you stood under the chuppah, it all came true in spades. Each other's best friends and in love all the way to this moment and to the rest of your life. Children, wow, we know how proud he was. You know, there's a very interesting Hebrew maxim. It says this, do not boast of your children when they are young, because you don't know what they will be like when they grow up. Okay, no Jewish parent ever adhered to that particular maxim. He didn't, but he got to boast of you, not only when you were young, but as you became young ladies. He was so incredibly proud. You were what we call nachas-producing machines. You gave him nothing but joy, happiness, and pride. And the friends spoke like they were brothers and sisters, really. They became like another family. It was a deep, deep friendship. And the rabbis say this, actually it's Ben Sira, the same one I quoted in the beginning. A friend is a powerful defense in life. He that has found such a friend has indeed found a treasure. That's what we've lost. An absolute treasure in your lives, in the lives of the community, and the lives of all those people who he touched. There's a place in England called St. Paul's Cathedral, part of Westminster Abbey. And in that place, there's a burial grounds. And who gets buried there? The notables of England, okay? And it's Muslim style. Well, England's been around for a long time. There's a lot of notables, so they have to gain control of the situation. So they have a very simple rule. Everybody gets the same amount of space, and everybody gets 3 lines on the marker. That's it. 3 lines, doesn't matter who you are. You could be the king or queen of England, you get 3 lines. The first one is your name. The second one is the date of birth, date of death. And the third one is a 1-line epitaph. 1 line, that's all you get. So one of the people buried there is the man who designed it, the architect and builder of St. Paul's Cathedral, who was the #1 architect and builder of the century. So he's buried there, of course. His name, the first line, Christopher Wren. Second line, 1632, 1723. Now listen to his epitaph. If you want to know more about him, look around you. It's what he built. You want to know more about him? Just look around you. This is what he, with Barbara, this is what you built. A family, a friendship, an entire community of people. He was the builder with you and the architect of this extraordinary community. Sof davar kol nishma. Et Elohim yirah, v'et mitzvotav shmor, ki zeh kol adam. The sum of the matter when all is said and done, writes Ecclesiastes, known as Kohelet, in our Hebrew Bible. God expects of us, this is all that God expects, to respect our Creator. In other words, to appreciate the life we are given and the world that we've been placed in, and to treat our fellow human beings with dignity and respect. If this is what God asks of us, we look back upon his life. He loved the life and the world that God gave him. He lived it to its fullest. He appreciated deeply. He had hakarat tov. He appreciated and was thankful for all the goodness in his life. And wow, did he treat everybody with friendship, with dignity, and respect. So we can be sure, when the Creator looked down and he saw this one creation, who is Moshe ben Shimon and Mariasha, Michael J. Goldberg, he could say, Tov Ma'od, this one was indeed very, very good. May his memory be for a blessing, and may God grant comfort to his family and to his friends, along with all the other mourners in Zion and in Jerusalem. Please rise for the memorial prayer. El Molei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utorim, K'zorakia Mazirim Lishmat, Moshe ben Shimon v'Mariasha Shahalach Liolamo. Began Eden Tehei Menuchato, Ana Balarachamim Hastidehu B'Seitik Nafech Liolamim. Utzror B'Tzror Achayim Et Nishmoto, Adonai Hunachlato, V'Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'Nomar Amen. A Lord full of compassion, gracious, patient, abundantly kind, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence amongst the holy and the pure to the soul of Moshe ben Shimon and Mariasha Michael Goldberg, who has gone to his eternal home. He has left behind so many friends, siblings, wife, daughters, sons-in-laws, nieces, nephews, great-nieces, great-nephews, an abundance of people who just deeply loved and respected him. May all the worthy and righteous deeds he performed in the land of the living be remembered and embraced. May he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he rest in peace. And we all say, Amen. Our friends here with Star of David will give us the instructions on how to proceed to the interment.
As we exit the chapel, I would ask that everyone please remain at their seats. Please allow the funeral staff to exit first with your loved one, followed by the immediate family. When you exit the chapel, please go directly to your vehicles. We do have security escorts that will be leading the procession to the cemetery. I would ask that you please, for safety reasons, turn on your hazards and your high beam headlights. Please still adhere to the rules of the road if you don't see a security guide along the way. Thank you.